Hi, I'm so thankful to be here with you. Sorry it took me an extra minute or two to get on. I had a little bit of a sneezing fit, but we can start on our bellies. So come on down to your stomach, and you're welcome to put something under your head, a towel, a pillow, a block. And then from here, let's just start out. Well, let's just lay on our bellies for a moment. So get comfortable. You can wiggle your hips a little bit side to side here. Tune into your breathing, your inhale and your exhale. So in the last few set classes, I've talked specifically about just how important it is to keep the range of motion in your hip flexor muscles. And although this doesn't target like the specific muscles like we were doing, just lying on your stomach and doing like a whole set of exercises and stretches on your stomach is one thing, especially if you work on neutral pelvis, that really helps with that tension. We're not going to stay here for too long today, but I just wanted to mention that. Let's go ahead and reach our arms out to the sides, scooting things that might be in the way out of the way, and circle your arms up and down. And you can just let them move along the floor, or you can hover them right over the floor, reaching out through your upper back and chest muscles as you're going up and down. Keep gently tilting your pubic bone towards the floor. Oh, it just feels so good to move those back muscles, shoulder muscles. All right, and then next time your arms come overhead, you can slide, if you have something under your head, you can just slide your arms and that thing over to the right a little bit, and then wiggle your legs over to the right, and you can just keep your ankles side by side or cross your left ankle on top. Let the left side of your body, if any part of it rolled up, roll back down to the mat, and take a few breaths here. I've really been enjoying this crescent stretch on the belly. And then uncross your ankles if they're crossed, slide your arms and legs back to center, walk your arms and legs over to the left a few steps, maybe cross your right ankle on top. If one side of the body rolls up off the floor, roll it back down, and then enjoy a few breaths here. Feeling your body, feeling the areas that you feel the most sensation, but also giving attention to the areas where you don't feel any sensation. So in other words, giving your whole body attention. All right, from there, slide your arms and legs back to center. And we're just going to slide our hands back and press ourselves up onto our forearms and our knees. From your forearms, flip your palms over. Try to open your thumbs as wide to the mat with your hands as wide as your elbows as wide as your shoulders. Tuck your toes under as much as you can. Your belly is relaxed, like really relax your lower belly so your tailbone can tilt more in the air. First, support in your core and your rib cage. Maybe lift your ribs up a little bit, but not if that causes your pelvis to tuck under. And then from here, let's just rock back and forward a little. We're not trying to go back as far as we can. We're trying to go as far back as we can with our tailbone still pretty high in the air. Ankles steady. Feeling your body, feeling your breath. So I, like many people, good for you if you're not one of them, ate too much yesterday on Thanksgiving. It was delicious. But this morning, the first thing I did was a private session, and my client had said, "Oh, I'm feeling sluggish this morning," which is a natural reaction to maybe eating a little bit too much. And all I could think of is, "Oh, I can't wait to come and move myself, gently, but just get things moving, get things flowing." Your body really appreciates that, as opposed to just lying around in our sluggishness. Okay, so from here, hips high in the air, just start to slide your arm bones forward. So your elbows are now quite a bit in front of your shoulders. And breathing here, you can let your forehead come down to a block or the floor. Softening your face, relaxing your jaw. Lower belly relaxed. And then if it feels okay to do here, rock your hips a little side to side. But definitely make sure your neck is comfortable or feels supported. All right, next time your hips come to center, bring your elbows back underneath your shoulders. And then from here, we're gonna let our hips go back more, so you can walk your elbows back more so your spine rounds a little bit. But you're gonna go back and forth between tops of the feet and come forward and tuck your toes under. And we'll do that a few times. Ankles and knees about hip distance apart, feeling and breathing. All right, and then from here, come up onto your hands, spread your thumbs out towards each other, wrap your elbow pits, that soft front part of your elbow, forward, belly relaxed, still tailbone in the air, and we'll do some rhomboid or scapula push-ups. Let your shoulder blades drop down, 2 straight arms. It's okay if they don't go very much. And then lift up through your armpits, through your best breastbone, spreading your upper back as wide as you can without the tuck of the pelvis. And let's go up and down a few times, pressing equally into the palms of the hands. If you feel like your shoulders are creeping up by your ears, you can slide your hands back a little bit so they're more under your chest. All right, and then you can do toes tucked under or top of the foot, hips back. Walk your hands a couple big steps over to the right and just try to slide your left hand a little bit in front of your right hand. And then walk your hands back in and walk your arms long over to the left a step or two. And then just try to slide your right hand, even if your hips come up a little bit more, in front of your left hand. All right, then let's come back up onto our hands and knees, spread our thumbs out towards each other, wrap our elbow pits forward, find the top of the rhomboid push-up with belly relaxed, tailbone in the air, but ribs and armpits lifting up. And the tricky part is we're gonna do a tricep push-up now. So when you tend to bend your elbows, we also tend to collapse in our shoulders or shoulder blades. So try to keep that lift of your armpits, your shoulder blades spreading wide as you bend and straighten. And the first thing you can work on, if that's really challenging to do, is watch if your elbows like to pop out to the side, and wrap your elbows in and try to keep them pointing straight back, not only on the way down, but also on the way up. And just going at your own pace here, breathing. You can always scoot your hands back a little further underneath your chest as well. Try not to let your hips go back. All right, and then from there you can sit back towards your either toes tucked under or top of the feet a little bit and flip one wrist over and flip the other wrist over, just a breath, a short breath, and then come up onto your knees. And actually we're gonna come onto our back for a little while. Don't want to miss out on this rolling and twisting sequence. So come on to your back. And from our back, let's scoot our hips a big hop to the left and do a 2-knee roll to the right. So 2 knees roll over, you scoot at your hip to the left so that when you roll over, it's like your spine is in one straight line, as opposed to your hips being quite a bit in front of your shoulder. And taking a breath here. Notice the habit of your legs. Do they, I often talk about knees in front of hips and ankles under the knees. Do your knees always start lower? Do your feet always start tucked back more? If not, keep coming here. But if you've been doing this a long time with me and you're like, yeah, I'm here all the time, you can change it up a little bit. Sometimes you can bend your knees a little more, sometimes bending them a little less, maybe sometimes knees a little higher, a little lower, but just change up a little bit where your body naturally goes to. And then let's keep that top leg how it is, but slide the bottom leg down towards the bottom edge of your mat. And again, you can move it up a little, down a little, straighten it out a little bit more. But always come back to your breathing. All right, let's switch sides. Unwind, scoot your hips a big hop or two over to the right, and a 2-knee roll to the left. And you can do what I'm doing, whereas I'm just kind of moving my feet a little bit, moving my knees a little bit to find a different angle. All right, keep your top leg where it is. Slide your bottom leg down the mat. All right, come onto your back. And now we're going to do that iliacus release that we've been doing the last couple classes. You can do block on the lowest height. You could do 2 blocks stacked. You could do block on the second highest height. Really listen to your body. You can have something under your head, but if that's not comfortable, you can slide it out. Like you're coming into a bridge pose, push up, and then slide the block under any height under your hips. And from here, we're trying not to sit on the block. We're tipping our tailbone, our pubic bone towards us. Be conscious here. It's common that a lot of people walk their feet quite a bit wider than hip distance, or their knees fall open, or their ankles slide forward a lot. So as long as it doesn't bother your ankles, your knees, your hips, try to slide your ankles under your knees. Try not to let the thighs roll open, and try to work hip distance apart. It's interesting because it seems like there's a group of people that stand and walk with their legs a lot closer than hip distance, and then they start stepping their feet wider. But then what I notice happens over time is they start like going wider and wider and wider. So you really have to get your bones, to get to know where your bones are, because that will help you line up your knees and your ankles so that you're not thinking your hip distance is wider than it is. It tends to go from one extreme to the other extreme. And I'm pretty sure I went through that same process as well. Front ribs relaxing down, waist dropping towards the mat. Now you can stay right here in this wonderful iliacus release, or you can stretch a leg straight. But if you stretch your right leg straight and you're like, whoo, this is too much with the block on the second height or 2 blocks stacked, then bend your knee, remove a block, and straighten your leg. Or you can just stay in the bent knee version. Breathing here. You can rotate that right thigh bone around a little bit if you'd like to. And if you find a particular angle that feels nice to stay and take a couple breaths. And let's take our time and switch legs. Finding that tilt of the pubic bone towards you, the waist dropping down, and maybe a little rotation here. So I'm going to do everything, like we're going to go through kind of all sides of the hips today. This is the front, then we're going to do both of the sides, and then we're going to actually come onto the front of our pelvis. I'm going to do it on a block just to show you that it is a great tool. You could put a little pillow over the block, you could put a towel over the block, but if you have something like a yoga bolster, which is down there by my feet, feel free to use that as well if you'd like a little bit more cushion. So one thing that has naturally happened to my body, and believe me, I have a long way to go. I still sit a lot and whatnot, but I find like when I'm going to my family's house, my parents' house, and if we are just sitting too much and talking or doing whatever we're doing, I get up and I like walk in circles around their house just to get my hips and thighs and legs moving. It's almost like I'm going back to being a child where, you know, children can't stay still. They have to move to get their energy moving. Sometimes I feel like that. Sometimes I feel like I have to get up and walk around or reach my arms into the air. So if you feel like that too, just know, go ahead and bend that knee, push into your feet, lift your hips up. Now, before we do anything else, we're going to do a pure twist. So if you have something to put back under your head, do that. Extend your left leg long, bring your right knee up, right hand to right rib cage, keep your ribs down and turn from the waist and the belly button. And we're gonna stay here just a little bit longer because a twist is really good for digestion. Breathing here. So if you start to get those urges where it's like, oh, I feel like I gotta move, I'm feeling a little antsy, your body is actually going back to its natural instincts. So that's a good thing. Check on your hip here. Does it like to hike up by your waist? Can you feel like you're relaxing it down a little bit? 30 more seconds for this twist. Maybe trying to turn a little more for the last 5 seconds. And unwind, and let's do the other side. So extend that leg long, bend your knee. The other thing is if you find that you're hiking up when you go across, again, putting like some extra contraction in your front of your hips. So as you go across, ribs staying down, you can kind of feel like that hip is moving away from you a little bit. And breathing here. Turning from the waist, turning from the belly button. About 20 more seconds. Staying connected to your breath. Maybe working less than 10 seconds, maybe working on turning from the waist a little bit more. And unwind. All right, from here, rock to one side or rock yourself up. You can use a bolster, you can use a stack of towels. I'm going to use a block, and I'm going to hop the right hip right up onto the block, right on the side of the buttocks. Take your time crawling the upper body down. Stretch your legs nice and long, and then you can just stay here, or you can put a little rock from side to side. And of course, if that does not feel good, then skip it, put more cushion. Breathing here. You might find that you're just hitting right on a tender spot, and you might have to like hop your hips like the tiniest little bit down or the tiniest little bit up. So make adjustments when adjustments need to be made. All right, let's switch sides. Press yourself up, spin around, turn around, or spin around to the other side. Try to hop right up on the center of your hip. Maybe you can even recognize where you were on the first side and try to get into almost the same place. And then come on down. And you can just stay right here and breathe and feel your body, or you can put a little roll. Front to back. Use your hand for support so you can roll back a tiny bit more. One of the ways to work on your body is like, let's say you want your hip muscles to wake up a little bit more. You know that they need to participate more. I mean, there's so many reasons why. It could be balance, it could be you're having knee issues. Then you can choose a few moves kind of that goes all the way around the hips or the thighs. Press yourself up here, and you could do them again and again, maybe once a week for a month, or continuously every day for a week. And sometimes you'll really notice the difference then when you go out and take a walk, how different muscles are waking up and being used. Okay, we're gonna do, again, you can use a bolster here. You're gonna hop the front of your pelvis. I wouldn't say hop necessarily, lay the front of your pelvis. So your pubic bone is towards the bottom edge. So if like this is the block, it's more towards the bottom edge. And you can push your pubic bone down into the block and kind of lift your ribs up. You can stay on your forearms, or you can go ahead and lay your upper body down some, if that's not bothersome, and still work on that slight tilt down of your pubic bone and up of your rib cage here. And trying to relax any excessive clenching that might be happening around the hips and the thighs. And breathing here. You can play with your leg distance, being, if you were to feel any compression in your lower back, always go a little wider, but you could play in this position and have your legs a little bit closer together. And you could do a little bit farther away as well. Lots of different degrees to work with. And I have this like one area of on my left buttocks that tends to overwork a lot of the time. I can feel it even when I'm walking up and down hills, like my left side is working more than my right side. I'm not sure exactly, but I think it has to do with all the driving I've done and the imbalance in my legs that way. But when I brought my legs in a little closer, I could feel that area. So play to figure things out for your body, figure out tensions, and then use your hands, press up, lift up your hips, and then you can move that block out of the way. Stand on your knees, step your right foot forward into a lunge, square your hips the direction you're facing, and take your left arm up and over into a side bend and back out by your side. And let's do that a few more times. Pubic bone forward, ribs dropping down and back. Next time you go over side bend, hold. Breathing, lengthening. Imagine creating space along your entire spine. And then bring that hand down, and with your arm out to the side, rotate and reach it across and open up. Focus more on the belly button moving than the arm just going across. Rotate. Breathing here. And same thing, if you were to notice like clenching deep in the front of your hip, so we talked about squaring our hips, but there's also like you could hike one hip up all the time. If you notice any clenching in that hip, try to feel that hip drop down a little bit towards the floor. And last one, let's hold. Turn, reach through your arm, breathe, and unwind and switch legs. Squaring your hips, pubic bone forward, ribs relax down, right arm goes up and over, dynamic side bends. Let's hold this one. And then bring that right arm to your side and turning from the waist, turn and open. And this time, turn and hold. Reach across, rotate your palm up, turning from the belly button. Feet are stable. And unwind, tuck your back toes under, front ankle under your knee, push down to step up. Outer edges of feet straight, ankles hip distance apart. Push down through your outer left hip, tuck the top of the right foot under. And then how about a little rotation side to side here? You're welcome to put a bolster or a towel or a pillow underneath your foot. Take your time. Check on your standing leg. If your weight shift it forward, back your hips up over your heel. Square your hips to face the direction that you're facing. And if you find a particular angle that feels good to stay on, stay there for a moment. Maybe try to straighten your leg a little more. If this is new to you and it's like, wow, this is intense, then don't try to straighten your leg a little more. All right, step that foot back. Outer edges of feet straight, ankles closer to hip distance. Push down through your outer right hip and tuck the top of the left foot. Check hips over heels. And if you'd like to, you can do a little rotation. And if you find a spot to stay on, for some people, it's letting the ankle roll out, but for most people, it's that big toe joint muscle. Now don't stay on your big toe joint if it's painful. All right, bring that foot forward. Grab whatever you're going to use for your calf stretch. A rolled up towel works great. Put the ball of your right foot up, your heel down. You can step your left foot forward or back. Elbow pits turn forward. So when we swing our arms back, it's common that our shoulder heads go forward. What I'd like you to do is when you swing your arms back, try to also feel like you're pulling your shoulder heads back. But keep in mind, pulling your shoulder heads back is not squeezing your shoulder blades together. Your shoulder blades will naturally go in a little bit, but if you feel like when you pull your shoulder heads back, your shoulder blades are squeezing in a lot, your ribs are probably somewhat thrusted forward. So really relax your ribs down and back, then slide your ears back over your shoulders, ramping your head and neck muscles, and then go back and try to also bring your shoulder heads back. And you'll notice the difference. You'll notice it doesn't feel like your shoulder blades are squeezing in quite so much when your ribs are down and your head is ramping back, but you're still moving back from the shoulder heads. Okay, so keep your right foot up. You can give your arms a relax. And then from here, let's tip our right ear over to our right shoulder. Elbow pits forward, ribs drop down and back, head ramps back a little, and do a really slow head nod yes. And just at your own pace, maybe 2 or 3 times, depending on how slow you're going. And then bring your head up and let's go over to the left and a really slow head nod yes here. Ribs down and back, elbow pits wrapping forward. Soften the face, relax the jaw. Good, and then bring your head up and switch legs. Left foot up, right foot can step forward or back, ankles hip distance apart. And then from here, let's do one arm at a time. So think ribs drop down and back, but head slides back. That's what straightens out our spine. And then pull back. One at a time and try to get your shoulder head not to drop forward, but to also go back with the rest of your arm. And over time, the more you work on relaxing your ribs down and back into neutral, if you need to, and ramping your head back, keep in mind that that in itself is an exercise, and the more you get familiar with it, and then your sensations grow more specific, like you can feel more things in your body, that in itself will tell you things about your body. Like, let me give you an example. When I drop my ribs down and back and slide my ears back over my shoulders, I can feel tension across my left chest muscles. So like it's giving me a clue like, oh, you need to work maybe on this area a little bit more in your body. At first, it was, oh my goodness, when my ribs were down and my head was back, it was like my neck, like crazy, was tight. But then over time, as I do more and more very simple neck stretches all the time, here and there throughout the day, that tension started to release, and I don't feel it as much when I slide my ears back over my shoulders. All right, let's relax our arms here. And from here, ribs relax down, ears slide back, turn and look over your right shoulder and do a really slow head nod. Yes, there. 2 or 3, depending on your pace. And then turn and look over your left shoulder. And from here, go ahead and nod your head yes, nice and slow. And bring your head back to center, and then you can step off of whatever you're on. You're welcome to have a block at the top of the mat if you'd like to use it to step back. Outer edges of feet straight, ankles hip distance apart. Sit back into your chair pose, hands down to the floor or to a block or to 2 blocks. Keep your right foot forward, step your left leg way back, square your hips the direction you're facing. Walk around to your left, parallel your feet with the outer edges of your feet straight and your ankles hip distance, your ankles are not hip distance apart. Back your weight up into your heels and push down to come up to stand. All right, from here, let's turn our feet slightly out and bend our knees out into like a goddess squat or temple squat, sometimes it's called. And we'll lift one heel up and lower down. Press equally through the ball of the foot. Try not to let your ankle twist. Good, and lift up and lower. Lift and lower. Knees right over the ankles, not going past. Breathing here. All right, how about the opposite? How about you lift the front of the foot and tap down? Front of the foot. Breathing. All right, press up. Parallel your feet. Rotate your pelvis. You can do halfway every time. You can fold further down, but then you're just gonna back your weight up and roll your pelvis back up and walk your feet in to 2. So we went a little bit closer. Usually we'll do 4, 3, 2. Walk your feet into 2 and rotate your pelvis over your thigh bones, backing your weight up into your heels. And rotate back up, and then walk your feet all the way together. Cross your right ankle behind your left ankle. And from here, you're rotating your pelvis, folding forward any amount, breathing. And maybe if you feel stable in your legs, you cross, so it's your right leg behind, you do your right arm under and your left arm on top, and cross your arms too. Taking a breath here and come on up, and then we'll switch. We'll do the left ankle behind and hinge forward from your hips, backing your weight up into your heels. And then from there, maybe your left arm underneath with your right arm on top, crossing your arms. Breathing here, grounding from your outer hips to your heels. And then come on up and unwind your legs. All right, with your legs hip distance apart, you're pushing down through one side, bringing your knee up. It's very common when your knee comes up that your pelvis wants to tuck under, so try to back your weight up so your ankle is stacked under your knee, under your hip, and lower down. And then we'll just go side to side like that, backing the weight of your hip up over your heel, not tucking your pelvis under as you go side to side marching here. And it's just like earlier I was talking about, like you can, at first it's just working on your pressing down your hip and keeping your hips back over heels and going side to side. If that's challenging enough, stick with that. And then slowly you add pieces on. Like one piece is when you lift your leg up, does your hip twist a little one way or a little the other way? Can you come back to center? And then another piece of the puzzle, you can pay attention to just that, is when you lift up, does your hip go way up? Like mine kind of does that. So can you drop your hip down so your hips are a little bit more square? The lifted leg hip might be a little bit higher. Because when you lift up and your hip goes up, you tend to involve more of your back muscles. Whereas when you lift up and your hips stay square, you use actually more of your deeper hip muscles. So just choose one thing at a time to be aware of. And then you add on. Your brain will appreciate that more. Your body will appreciate that more. All right, feet straight, ankles hip distance, squat back, maybe your hips drop a little lower, press back to come up. Walk open to 2 and sit back, dropping the hips down any amount, press your hips back, and now we'll just go to 3, sit back, maybe hips drop down a little lower, and press up to 4, walking open, and sitting back and breathing and backing your hips up and pressing up to stand. Okay, rotate your pelvis over your thigh bones. You can bring your hands to a chair. You can bring your left hand to a block. Wrap that elbow pit towards your fingers. Reach your right arm out to the side, thumb up. Keep working on the bottom arm as you twist from the waist and reach up through that top arm. And then switch. Bring the block over underneath your right shoulder, wrap that elbow pit forward, left arm out to the side, and turn open here. Turning from the waist, turning from the belly button, breathing, hips back, weight over the heels. All right, and then lower that hand down. Walk around to your right foot at the front of the mat. Softly lower your left knee down. Slide your right knee to meet it. You can keep your toes tucked under, or you can put the tops of the feet down. Bring your hands together. Slide your hips back a little bit. Head can rest on the floor or on a block or a pillow. And then from here, lift and lower. Watch if those ankles rolled out to one side or the other. All right, from here, go ahead and open your hands. Reach your right arm underneath your left forearm. All 5 fingers touch. You can rest your head on your other arm. Just a breath or 2 here and switch. Reaching through. 5 fingernails touch down. All right, come back up. You can turn one of your forearms like in so you can rest your head on it, and then reach your other arm behind your back and just start by your hips and try to slide your elbow in as close to your body as you can. And then you can walk your hand up your back any amount. Even here, think belly relaxed, tailbone up, but ribs lift up. Try to touch more parts of the back of your hand, your forearm to your back. Ribs up, and release that hand and switch. Opposite arm, start by your hips. Let your head relax down. And then you can just stay right there and wiggle your hand in, paying attention to the neutral pelvis, neutral rib cage, or you can wiggle that arm up your back any amount. Maybe noticing if there's a difference from one side to the other. Ribs up, breathing. All right, release that arm out. Stand up on your knees. Step your right foot straight out to the right. You can have your hands on the floor if you would like a little higher support, your hands on blocks. But first, let's just rotate our elbow pits so elbows go out to the sides and wrap in. And then try to keep your elbow pits wrapping in as you do some rhomboid push-ups here. All right, let's switch legs. Slide the knee in, slide the opposite leg out, ankle in line with your hip. You know, you can play with sliding forward and back a little to find a different angle. And first, just rotate. Now be conscious if you tend to push your elbows forward in front of your wrist, back them up a little bit so they're over your wrist. Sorry, my sweater doesn't come up on both sides and stay up. All right, and then wrap your elbow pits forward and do some rhomboid push-ups here. All right, and then slide your knee in, stand up on your knees, step your right foot forward, tuck your back toes under, and press down to come up. All right, top of the mat, you can have a block or not. Sit back into your chair pose. Fold forward, step your right leg way back, square your hips in the direction you're facing, and then spin your hips open and walk around to the right. Parallel your feet, come on up to stand, turn your toes out to the side, squat down, and remember, you can always turn your toes out a little less or a little more, and then from here, let's do heel raises, pressing equally into the ball of the foot. And front of the foot raises. And then press up, parallel your feet, rotate your pelvis over your thighs, back your hips up, press down to come up and walk your feet into 3 and a little bit closer to 2 and rotate your pelvis over your thigh bones. Back your weight up into your heels to press up to stand and then walk your feet all the way together. We'll do left ankle behind this time. And as you fold forward, you can cross the left arm behind, wrapping your hands around your thighs, any amount. Breathing here, relaxing your belly, tailbone goes up, head ramps up, back of the head ramps up a little, and come on up and switch. Cross your opposite ankle behind. Hinge forward from your hips here. Maybe cross right hand behind the left. And you're just trying to go about halfway, folding with a flat back, breathing. All right, come on up and rewind, unwind, push down through your left leg, right knee comes up. Work on anything that you'd like to, hips over heels, the twist, or the hiking of the hip. And switch. Okay, so next time you push down through your left leg and your right leg comes up, turn it into a twist if you'd like to. Reach your left hand across, reach your right arm out behind you. And unwind and switch sides. Push down through that outer right hip, whatever you'd like to work on. Hips over heels, the rotation of the hips, the hip hike. Probably hips over heels is the first one to pay attention to. And then walk or twist your right hand over to your left knee. Maybe open your left arm out behind you. And breathing here. And unwind and lower your foot down. And let's squat back and press up. And walk your feet out to 2. And squat back. and press up and walk your feet out to 3. Squatting back and pressing up and walk your feet out to 4 and squatting back. And then back your hips up, hands can come to the block or not. Left hand under the block, left elbow pit wraps forward, right arm reaches out and turn open. Notice if your hips tend to veer to one side or the other, try to bring them back to center, but turn from your upper body, your waist up, and then switch. Right elbow pit wraps forward, check the twist or the tilt of the hips, and turn open. Breathing. And bring that hand down, and then walk around to your left foot at the front of the mat. Lower your back knee, slide your left knee to meet your right, elbows down, hands together. You can wiggle your elbows a little in front of your shoulders. You can do tops of the feet or toes tucked under, backing your hips up, forehead comes to a block or to the floor. And then this time you can lift and lower or slowly lift. And it might be all the way in, it might be over your head, it might be a little forward. Find an angle to stay at. It can be where you feel the most sensation, but it can also be where you don't feel much sensation. Letting your breath flow. And whether your forehead's on the block or the floor, how about rotating just a tiny bit to right to left? All right, and then come on up. Reach your right arm behind your left elbow. Kind of lay that shoulder down on the floor. You can use a block under your head or lay your head on the floor. If you notice that right shoulder's hiking up by your ears, slide it down a little, and then reach your left arm over and wrap it behind your back. And you can slide it up a little bit or keep it down, depending on how close your elbow stays in. Use the tops of your feet. Use your legs here so the weight is just not kind of pushing you into the floor. Letting your breath flow. And unwind your back arm. Use it to press yourself up. Elbow starts down. Reach your left arm through. Make sure your head is comfortable on a block or on the floor or on a pillow. And then reach your top arm into the air, turn it behind you, and wrap it behind your back at any angle. And remember, sometimes you want to go to where you feel the least amount, or what's like if you always take your hand up high, work with it lower. In general, if you're feeling tighter in this area, start lower. Shoulders, if they're hiking up by your neck, can you soften them down a little bit? All right, slide that hand out, press down, come up onto your knees. Stretch your right leg out to the side. You can always do blocks underneath your hands. Elbow pits, wrap forward. Little bend if you tend to push your elbows forward or have that ability to press your elbows forward. And from here, let's do some tricep push-ups. Ribs stay up, elbows stay in. Notice the elbows popping out, not only on the way down, but also on the way up. Press equally through the palms of the hands. Breathing here. And let's switch legs. Thumbs spread out, elbow pits wrap forward, and bend and straighten. And if you have a mirror at first, you can look and see, are my elbows popping out on the way down and the way up? And then eventually work on also relaxing your neck or ramping your head, ribs up. All right, and then slide that foot in, and then from there, let's go all the way back as far as you can. Child's pose, you're gonna slide your arms back behind you. You can lay your forehead on the floor one side, or you can put your forehead on a block. And just let those shoulder heads wrap forward a little bit. Feel your inhales and your exhales. And then press down a little through the tops of your feet and your shin muscles to come on up and have a seat on your block. And walk your legs into a V shape, any amount. Try to tilt your pelvis upright a little bit more. And then we'll interlace our right pinky finger on the back, bring our hands behind our head. Think of front ribs relaxing down as head ramps back. Now, of course, you're always thinking about that upright pelvis too. And from here, lean back a little bit. Try not to thrust the ribs forward, just let your head fall back into your hands a little bit with chin down. It's really like your shoulder blades are pushing forward into your back without your ribs thrusting forward. And then from here, bring your head back up, still ramp it back, chin down, and side bend to the right, and side bend to the left. Head ramping back the whole time. Bring your torso back up, twist your belly button to the right. Good reminder with your hands there to ramp your head back, chin down, and turn to the left. Same thing with the head ramping without lifting the rib cage. And then come back to center and see about rotating forward over your hips and kind of folding forward, but keeping your head going back into your hands. So, and your weight goes, the work kind of goes into your legs here, so you don't have to go too far forward. And then come on up and release your hands and bring the soles of your feet together, knees open, pelvis tilts upright, ribs relax down, left pinky finger on the bottom, hands behind the head. Think of sliding your head back and then kind of just leaning your upper back a little bit with your chin down. Try not to thrust the ribs forward. Breathing here. And then bring your torso upright. And let's go to the left first, side bend. And over to the right, ramping the head back into your hands. And bring your head up, twist to the left, focus on the belly button, sliding the ears back. And twist to the right, head ramps back, ribs down and back. Really ribs down and back first, then head ramps back. Bring your head back to center, and how about folding over your legs? Now, if this is too much for your legs, just put your hands on the floor. But otherwise, folding forward a little goes a long way. You'll start to feel there's work in your hips. And from there, you just stay and ramp your head back a little bit. All right, come back up and release your arms and give your shoulders a couple rolls one direction and a couple rolls the other direction, and stretch your legs out in front of you and fold forward any amount. And you're ready for your final pose, Savasana. So come on down to your back, wherever you'd like to do to get comfortable. Becoming very present with your body, very present with your breath. So being that Thanksgiving just passed, and even if you're doing this video and it didn't just pass, that's perfectly okay, because we're going to focus on gratitude. And gratitude is something that if we're very lucky, we can focus on every day. There's been some really great research projects about gratitude. One of them showed that after a consistent practice of being thankful for things more throughout the day, the parts of people's brains that lit up, that indicated happiness, went up 25%. And that's really significant. And it's not only being grateful for the big things. I have a warm place to lay my head, I have food, also for all the little tiny things. It could be that you're walking in the grocery store and a stranger smiled at you and it just happened to be a really nice smile and it was like, hey, that was nice. And pausing to acknowledge that you're thankful. I'm thankful for that, You're driving, someone lets you in. I'm thankful for that. Anything around your home, anything at work, just noticing little things and trying to be more thankful more often. One thing I also have liked to research and study is just relationships and the dynamic in relationships, because for me and for a lot of the people, my friends in my life and my family, I know that learning how to have relationships with people was not always taught well. And one of the things I've come across over and over again is just that, is gratitude. That to try and think of, for the people in your life, the people you choose to spend time with, they could get on your nerves too, but to more often take time and specifically think of things that you're grateful for about the people in your lives, and that in itself can help shift your mood and help you better deal with complexities that come up. So gratitude just all the way around. If you are ready to wiggle and rock, please feel free to do that. You didn't have a very long savasana, so maybe you just stay on your back here. But if you'd like to join me to get up, you can roll to one side. Take a nice breath before pressing yourself up. And I'm going to take, I'm going on a little road trip now, so I'm going to take a lot of relaxing savasana. Bringing your hands to heart center in gratitude for this day, and in gratitude that we may all find more little things to be grateful for all day long. Namaste.